I think I can get through that pretty quickly. Be sure that you read Canvas every shift. Some days, I haven't gotten into that mode yet, but I have some days when I'll put out 8 or 9 messages in a single day. Some of my older students have worked when about every 2 minutes I step around the corner and I go, there's another one, there's another one. Keep going in there and reading these. These meetings help a lot because I can talk to you all pretty much at one time, but Canvas is a good way for us to have interaction and keep you up on things as they happen. The other thing is that be sure you reply to every message that's posted. The majority are going to come from me and the other supervisors, but occasionally somebody puts out a request for a trade. Even if you can't help them out with the trade, would you reply to them so they know that you've seen the message? It helps them to know that, oh, okay, this person's already said no, 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 no. And once in a while you can write and say, I might be able to, so they know that, you know, who are the people who they could maybe negotiate with. But it's just courtesy to let them know that you've read the message and get back to them. This isn't Facebook where you get to lurk all the time. Just, who just lurks? Everybody posts everything on Facebook.
I lurk.
Yeah.
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 We're from the older
This
generation.
This is an interactive thing that has to work for us here, so be sure and reply. When you come into work each shift, would you please go over to wherever your supervisor is and let them know that you've arrived. I'm at a disadvantage of all the people because I cannot see the front desk, and I don't know that you've shown up unless you tell me or somebody else says, oh yeah, they're up there at the desk, because sometimes I'm waiting for you to be there because I have assignments that are going in different directions, and I can get things going as soon as you're clocked in. It also lets me. You may think you're going to come in and go right on task. The schedule is all color-coded, and it's going to have more colors on it very soon. And it's good if you know what you're supposed to do that hour, but always check with the supervisor because sometimes it has to change. This week we had different people who didn't work almost every day of this week, and so there were things we had to be sure we covered. If Missy is supposed to be watching the desk at 2 o'clock and she's not going to be here at 2 o'clock, then I obviously need to let one of the other people know that I need you to be at the desk at 2 o'clock today. Missy's not coming in. And then we can proceed with where everybody's going to be for the rest of that shift. Also, during this training time, we've done something that is that's going to change, and that is that we'll never have more than 2 people at the desk at a time, and a lot of times only 1. During training, we've had you. For a couple of reasons. I wanted you to get to know each other. I want you to be comfortable here. But also we need you kind of close by so that we could have you learning some of the things and having those opportunities. So sometimes the group thing, more than once I've grabbed 2 or 3 and headed to the book drop, or we've done ILL as a little group, or things that have come along. You're all getting pretty much past that initial training. We're ready to settle into routines. And that chart, when you look at it, will have another color added to it that will be your shelf reading assignments. And on those hours when you'll be out doing shelving things, you'll just head right out there with what Lachelle has just been talking about. And there'll be very few floaters around. I may have to actually pull people back from their regular other assignments occasionally to help out if we have special projects. You should be able to look at the chart, see what we're doing. You can just pop into my office for a minute or over to Ariel, wherever, and say, I'm doing shelf reading this hour unless you need me for something else. And I usually will say, nope, that's great. And you can just head up to shelf read or the bindery or the special collections or wherever it is that you're working. Doing your homework and reading and using the computer for personal use is strictly forbidden while you're here at work. That should only happen in very, very rare moments. Most of the time you just need to ask if we have a project, if you don't already have one to work on. Like I said, most of the time during the day I have a myriad of things that we're working on and trying to get them processed, because as fast as we take care of a task, more of the same thing is coming. You probably noticed that. This is like we do the same things over and over and over and over. It's like anything in life. And so be sure and check in with us. If there is a rare moment when we're between projects or you're the one at the desk and we can't let you go work on something, you might be told that you could pull out a homework thing and you could give it a little bit of time. It has to be something that you cannot concentrate on, however. You can't be reading because you have to be able to look up at the desk, at the counter every 15, 20 seconds to see who's walked up to the counter. And that's hard to do any kind of real studying when you're doing that. You should never sit at that work desk with your back to the public. If it is, it's just rude and you can't see them if they approach the counter. If there are already two people on the other side of the counter, then that project should probably be taken into the back workroom or to one of the other work areas in our circulation area so that you can do that. That was meant to be a lightly used work area for people who are watching the front desk. Again, there typically will not be more than 2 people out there at any time. When it comes to tasks, you should only do what a supervisor has trained you to do. Students will not train you to do things unless, and some of you have had this happen, unless I tell you, and tell that student the same thing. I've done it with James a couple of times when I've said to the 2 of them, I've said, I want you to learn to do this, and I'm going to have James showing you how to do it. So James knows that and you know that. And, or if it's Missy or whoever it is that's working with them on that task, you will not teach each other. And even my experienced students, we really want to teach the beginners ourselves. They can, once you're trained, and if you have somebody who's a returning student, if you're working on some book repair and I've told you how and you've got a question and Missy or James or some of them who know how to do it, you can go to them after you've both been trained because they can also remind you or show you some of the finer points and use their experience to help you out to finish working on that project. At that point, it's okay. Watching someone do a project does not mean you know how to do it. I think almost all of you have been trained to do something. Wings, has everybody here done wings or corners or label savers? Any one of those things, or taken the labels off of books? Laquan, have I really not got you doing any of those projects? We got a project back here. Let's get him on target. As you know, almost every one of those, when you first saw somebody doing it, did you find out there was more to it than what it looked like once you started doing it yourself? Yeah, and that's my point. Most of the time it's not hard, but we can give you the finer points, the warnings about what could be hazardous with what you're doing, and then also the things that will help you to be successful in doing that job, that you don't do any damaging of things. When you finish a project, clean up after yourself. If it's a project that somebody is picking up that you know they're going to do and they're going to follow through right after you, you can leave it. If you're both working on something, say working on putting wings on a book and you leave and they're still doing it, don't take the materials away. Let them finish doing the project. But if you're working on it and there's not someone immediately right there, then you should be putting those things away, and if we work on it again, the next person can pull them out and work on it. Let me know if you finish a task. Don't just finish and sit, because sometimes I'm got more things to work on, ready to turn them over to you. And I'd be happy to take the one you finish and move it on to another. Any of you who've worked during the day with me have experienced that when one cart comes and it goes and another cart comes and another one goes, and we're in and out getting all kinds of things through there. So we have a procession going on. If you don't get finished, or if you leave something, I would say anything you work on, if you are not able to talk to the supervisor or there's a question about the item, leave a note on it. Just a little note that says, didn't get finished, or these still need the wings, or whatever the problem is with your initials, so that if there's any question, we can go back. We don't want to have to redo a job because we don't know exactly what got finished with and what didn't. Some of the tasks come with little slips on them that say what needs to be done, and you can check it off or initial, and we know that it's done and you're the one who did. Sometimes you'll be working on a task that doesn't have a little check sheet, and so you'll need to maybe put a note on that. It's not uncommon you start on a project and I go to lunch, and before I come back from lunch you're needing to leave, and so being able to know what has happened on that is helpful. And you shouldn't pass a job off to somebody else unless you know that they know that job. Sometimes you're going to be the only one to do it. Maybe it's taking some special attention and I don't want anybody else. I don't want to take the time to try and train somebody else to do it. It's not that big a job. I'm going to work this same time with you every day. So I'm thinking, it's just as easy for me to take Sam and say, Sam, you're going to be my guy who does this job. And if somebody's watching you do it and it looks cool, they're still not going to do it because I'm only going to have one person do it. A lot of it has to do with scheduling. And just be aware that that could happen. I mentioned earlier that you're paid for every minute that you work, and so if it gets to be 30 minutes before you leave, 20 minutes, 15, whatever it is, you should be working until it's time to leave. And I know that you don't have time to like start some big project, but you can put several wings onto books or corners. You can repair a lot of the tape on the reserve desk. The keyboards in our work area could be wiped off every hour. With us moving into the season of colds and things, the phone, the cash register, wiping the counter off, 5-10 minutes of wiping that off every hour is not a bad plan. It's not just us, and we have a larger number of people in our work area than ever before, and more students at the desk. So we can use those 5, 10, 20 minute that are left on a shift in cleaning up and just doing small tasks. There's always things that need to be done. If you're not sure, if you finish a task and you're not sure what to work on, or you're looking for a suggestion, just ask. Most of the time, we all have our pet things that we notice, or that we wish that somebody had a few minutes and could take care of things when we've got the time, so do that. The other thing is, if you've been trained to do a task, and I keep using this as an example because most of you know how to do wings and corners, that cart, the one that looks like, that has all the 4 sides on it, has the little tags, and all of you who do it know what those little tags mean. You can just go back to that cart anytime that you're looking for a project, just go back, look at it. If it's got the things on it, pull it out and work on it. You know, it's good to go. And that will always be having things on it. Did I get here without this book? How many of you have helped to put the labels on that Rob Snow collection? At all? Anybody? Yeah, quite a few, or put them on the shelves, or have seen it, put them on the shelf, take them off the shelf, want them around on the shelf. Let me just give you a little bit of information. You may be asking, what is it, where is it, what do you do with it? They are like reserve books, only we don't check them out to anybody. There's too many of them, they won't fit on our reserve shelves. They're out where the rec reading used to be, on those shelves by the south windows there on the 2nd floor. Have all of you done, what is it, periodical checkout, periodical in-house count, the little card that you scan on the computer for periodicals? How many people have not? Raised your hand. How much too? I've got about 4. Okay. You will see this when we show you how to do that. But the others who have done that, it's going to be a 3rd card on that little ring, and this one's going to say Rob Snow Collection. The other day, somebody used one of his books and put in our book drop, so we're going to scan it to show that it was used, and then put it back out on the shelf. That's all we'll do with those. They're not in the computer. You can't look them up by title. They do have security on them, but we do want to keep track of kind of if they're used and how much, if we can. Any question about that? And I'll be glad to show you that when we're down at the desk. It's easier sometimes to do that when you're right there. Actually, we're getting through this pretty fast, folks. We're doing good. This group thing that's been happening at the front desk is a little bit problematic. No, it's been a lot problematic. Talking with friends or coworkers or customers, we need to keep it very quiet. We should not be the loudest thing on the floor. And I should not be able to hear you when I'm in my office. You're too loud if I can hear it. And it should be brief. It's not a social hour. I am thrilled that you're all getting to know each other and you like each other. It makes it a great place to work. But that has its limits. It can be counterproductive if we're doing too much of it. And you'll say, but I can multitask. You know, I can work and talk at the same time. Well, no. It's proven that you can't, that you cannot be as productive, and for a lot of reasons. The number one reason is you're not paid to visit while you're here. A little bit of that is okay, but visiting makes customers uncomfortable. I actually had it happen this last week. A young man wanted to come over and check out a reserve book, and we were talking at the front desk, and he would not walk up to the counter because he did not want to interrupt us talking. And I turned around and saw him kind of off to the side, and I said, oh, I said, can we help you? He goes, yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you. I didn't want to interrupt your conversation. So we assume that they'll just come up and then we'll see them and then we'll be able to help them, but it can be intimidating to some people who've been taught that it's rude to interrupt and to listen in on private conversations. And so we're creating that environment that is not customer friendly. And I mentioned that you can say things that are overheard by others. Talking can distract your coworkers when they're working on their tasks. It is possible for you to do a task and talk, but it's more difficult for somebody to listen and do a task because they have to have the attention on what you're about to say. They don't know what you're going to say, so they have to pay attention to you. And typically, I find that when you're listening, you stop working. That's not productive. So talking is not multitasking, it's distracting. It's probably not going to be a big issue because for the most part there won't be two of you at the desk. You're going to be in different areas working on different projects, but when you are, it needs to be aware that that's kind of it. I suggest that if you have friends that want to stop by and say hi, spend a few minutes with them, say hi. If they want to know something about the class that you're in, sharing information or something, go ahead and do it. Give them your phone number, connect with them later, meet up out front and have an ice cream and a nice visit. You know, you can get on chat and do stuff. We have so many ways to communicate. But we do need to keep things productive while you're here at work. Where am I? Oh, right here. Just going to follow up with perfumes and colognes and things. If you do wear those, please wear them lightly. When you wear the vests that are shared, or even your vest hanging on the rack next to someone else, a lot of that moves from one vest to another. That makes it really difficult for the next person. Because we only wash them once a week on the weekends. They don't get dirty, but those perfumes and can hang on for quite a long time. They can linger, and some people are allergic to them. I've got a husband who's allergic to musk, and when anybody is in the room wearing musk, he can't breathe. He has to get up and leave because it's very powerful to him, even small amounts of it. It can be very overwhelming to other people. There's different levels. Some people can love perfumes and colognes and can tolerate high levels of it, and others are highly sensitive to it. So, and the scent that you enjoy may not be pleasant to someone else. I don't know if you've gone through perfume racks. You've all done that. You've smelled some that you really like, and others that you're just like, holy cow. And you could be standing next to the person that says that about yours. They like theirs and not yours. So just be aware that, again, we're in an environment where we're in a shared space and going all the time. Kind of part of what we're doing with the vests is looking at part of this issue, but even when they're hanging on the rack, it can be transferred back and forth. Okay, now I want, any question, comment? Yeah.
Is there anything that can be done about with the IT and a print desk, if we can get a sign or something for, just, I've noticed it's become a real problem in the last 2 weeks, where it's just constant. There's more people asking about IT things in print than there are about books.
Is that after hours, and you're just redirecting them over to the
Yes, redirecting, but it just seems to take a lot of time, like when it builds up, but it's just 1 or 2 people, that's fine, but when you get 7 or 8 every few
And their whole
weeks-
thing
I
is
think it's
asking
mostly
that.
because it's the first of the year, like,
Well, actually, it wasn't that bad when the year started. For some reason, as time's gone on, it's gotten worse.
I've actually had it a lot too lately, even early in the morning.
Because the first of the projects are.
because nobody does anything the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, that could be, you know, that would be really handy, wouldn't it? Especially if the help desk had something that said prints, webpage, blah, 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 kind of thing of, you know, ask here. A lot of people, when I pointed out to them that I'm asking them to step across the aisle, they kind of swing around like they never even noticed that area was over there. They didn't know what that was
Same with the
about.
copy desk too.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah, well, the copy desk has gotten better now. The table's on the outside of that room. We all have seen that make it more accessible to them. You know, I think that's a good idea. Let me make a note of that and ask Daphne if we can't suggest that maybe they do some kind of signage that would be more directive to our students. Because obviously it's not working if they keep coming and asking us. Okay. Okay. Good comment there. the last couple of things I want to talk about are kind of the fun things. So that's, you hang in there, we do the fun things last. Somebody asked me about our refrigerator back in the workroom. It is available for you to use anytime you want. So if you would need to bring a lunch or a dinner or something and keep it cold or have a drink back there, you're welcome to do that. It's not just what you bring for while you're at the desk working. You can go back there and put your lunch in there, drop in, pick it up, and take it anytime you want. I do ask that it'd be nice if you put your name on anything you put in there for two reasons. One, it's really easy for you to bring something, and I sometimes bring the same thing, and then I don't remember, I see it, and I think, oh, I didn't remember I still have one of those in there.
I accidentally drank
goes.
someone's Gatorade.
Yeah.
It's the same color as mine, but a different flavor, but there was no name on it, and
And
yeah.
it went, yeah, it happens. It
Ew.
hasn't been
I had to buy them a new Gatorade.
I just started saying, or the other thing is, once in a while, I've taken somebody's thing, called them, I was starving, I ate your cheese, I'll bring you some more. That's the one side of it. The other side of it is that if it's your thing that you've left in there and it's turning green and moldy, then we want it gone, and I may chuck it and just say, I'm sorry, but it was getting hazardous to the rest of us. Sometimes you bring it, I've done it, put it in the fridge and forget that you put it in there, especially if it's not something that's, sealed up. A can of pop can stay there the whole school year, I don't care, but little Tupperware containers full of stuff, that can be really scary. You've all been there. And we'd ask that, that you occasionally take a look in there and clean your things up. The sink is there. There's some soap that you can use to rinse out utensils and things and put them in the cupboard. I do ask that if you use the sink to wash your eating things, that you don't leave them around the sink. They need to go back over by the fridge. We use that sink to clean like the whiteboard markers, eraser things. We use those to clean. I dump my plants in there and clean around. The other day I was dumping all kinds of crap and I had to move all the dishes because I thought, oh, I wouldn't want what I'm doing on my dishes. So clean them up and just move them away from the sink so that you're sure you're not being contaminated by other things that we do in that. It's not a kitchen. I mean, it's a mixed use room, so you just have to be kind of aware of that. The second thing is your lockers. You may use your lockers anytime you need to. They're available all the time. If you come to school in the morning and want to dump all your books in there and then just drop by to pick up what you need for the morning, and then come back later and exchange that for what you need in the afternoon, you can put personal stuff in there. It's fully your locker to use. The one thing I do ask is with the refrigerator and the lockers, you may pop in and out of there and take care of business. If you're not actually working, then you should not be lingering around behind the desk with the others who are working and doing things. You can say hi, how are you doing, blah, 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 but you should pretty much just get what you're needing and be on your way. Part of the problem is if you're behind the desk, I have a tendency to think that you're at work and I'm going, why aren't they doing something? I've got a job right here and I'll be enlisting you right there to be doing things. So you need to be out and doing what you're doing. Our students need to be here so that they're on task too. So we can keep that all happy for you. See, that's good stuff to hear about, the fridge and the lockers. Any other things you have questions about? That's the end of what I'm doing, other than we're going to do some phone training. So yeah.
Is there any possible way that we could get music playing at the when we're closing?
No. I was thinking, you know what, Halen? I was sitting there today in my office when she made the announcement that we were closing, and I thought, dang, I missed the music.
Yeah, we had good music.
I did. For those who don't know, in the old library, when we got ready to close at night, the last 10 minutes we played music loud. And it was really obnoxious music like Sousa marches and Flight of the Bumblebee and William Tell Overture and things that it was impossible to study to. It was so annoying the students would walk out and say, why do you guys do that? We can't study. And I thought,
You shouldn't be studying. Go away.
yeah, that's our point. March us right out of
Like
here.
lately at night shifts, there's been people, and it's the worst because they know they need to leave, but they'll spend 7 minutes